I'm Nicole Jones, and you are listening to Mediocre to Masterful. This podcast helps you master your goals, activate your plans, and manifest your purpose. Season 1, I covered many topics that hit home with people in different ways, like achieving your goals in finances, wellness, faith, being fearless, entrepreneurship, all those great things. But one topic that I didn't really touch on was relationship goals. And to be honest, I needed assistance in this discussion. I needed someone who helps transform married women and soon-to-be married women into happy wives. I couldn't do this topic on my own, so I'm excited to share this platform with wife, mom, and CEO of The Wife Coach, Lakia Brandenburg. Hey, Lakia.
How are you?
I am doing well. I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
I am so excited to be here. I love girl chat, and I love talking about love and relationships, so let's make it happen.
Yes. And I'm excited, and I'm pretty sure everyone who tuned in to this particular episode is excited as well, because relationship goals is like a constant. So it never ends. Love is circulating everywhere, and you're going to help the many women out here today receive that and maintain that. So,
yes.
I guess just a little background. Lakia and I actually met at the Prosper Conference last year in 2018. And she served as the amazing MC at this phenomenal experience. Was it not phenomenal?
It's phenomenal. The best word we can come up with, because when I say it's like I'm speechless. It was Raven did her thing with that. I know that was all God. I know she would give credit to God. I know she would.
Yes.
I know. Yes. But let me tell you something. Just by her, exercising whatever he told her to do and being obedient, I was able to meet you. I was able to meet so many amazing women. So yes, Prosper Conference, I'm still feeling the aftermath of that.
Yes, all day, every day. I totally agree. And actually, if you were tuned into season 1, I actually had Raven on episode 10, Prosper in every season. So like Lakia said, this, that event was, that experience was an amazing experience. And she actually has one coming up this year as well. So make sure you check out Raven Jones, but who is soon to be Mrs. Hoket in topics of relationships. So awesome.
So amazing.
Yes, so that's where Lakia and I met. I wanted to stay in contact with her because I felt like it was an important discussion to have, and could speak to so many women when it comes to relationships and just being a wife.
Right.
So I'm excited. We are in session, y'all. Today's topic is Wife Coach in Session, and I hope that we deliver to your relationship goal expectations. So make sure you stay tuned in and share with a friend if you're interested in listening to some relationship profiles, real talk on, an IG story versus a true love story, and just preparing for your proposal. Just get ready for some good discussions, some good topics, and share with someone that might need to hear this. Before I introduce you, Lakia, and you share more about your background, I just want to applaud all the single ladies and the married women out there who survived 2018 holidays full of rapid fire questions of when you gonna get married, when I'm gonna meet your boyfriend, when I'm gonna meet your girlfriend. When are y'all having kids? It's 2019, and I know you have your own relationship goals, but you survived the 2018 holidays, and I am so happy and thankful that Lakia is here to help you navigate for this year.
That is funny.
That's real. It's real.
That is so funny. You're right. It's real, because they survived it. I never even looked at it like that. Yeah, you really did survive. So people leave you alone.
Exactly. So Lakia, I open this up to you. Please tell us about your background and how you were even graced with this idea to start The Wife Coach.
Absolutely. Well, a little bit about where I'm from. I'm from Hyattsville, Maryland, born and raised in Maryland to two amazing parents, even though I had some questions about their relationship. I'll say that. They were my first example of marriage. And so I grew up in a household where marriage painted a picture of something that I didn't think was the most pleasant. I am the youngest of three, and I actually came to Atlanta, Georgia, thinking I was following my dreams of becoming a writer, I guess God had a plan for me, because I still was able to live that dream and create my first book, which actually created the platform for the Wife Coach. So that's the funny thing about it. I never knew that me moving to Atlanta from Maryland was part of his plan, but it was. And when I actually just kind of surrendered, instead of trying to fight the way I wanted to do life and things like that. And at the time, I wasn't even thinking about my parents and their relationship. I had no idea that my first book was going to be about marriage and relationships, and how that really had an impact on how I handled, dating, how I handled courting, all of those things, that I didn't know how to do. I wasn't, I guess, fully aware that those lessons or those examples were coming from my parents, and they had an impact on me. So when I finally got here and wrote my first book, that literally was what started the platform for the Wife Coach, without me knowing. Once again, I like to say that because I never said, okay, I'm going to write this book and be a wife coach. I was indirectly coaching women through my story. I was indirectly coaching them through me meeting my husband when I was in college, how he and I dated off and on for 10 years. And literally, I ain't going to speed past that part. I need y'all to hear that. We dated off and on, more so on, but we had our 1 year, 2 years of, fake breaking up. But we did that because, again, of the perception of marriage, me not really understanding what marriage was, and that I could have a successful relationship. So that's pretty much where it started. I started mentoring young ladies who were single and preparing for marriage. I met Coriel DeBose, who at the time was the founder of the Single Wives Club. And honestly, my book is what connected us together.
Amazing.
She brought me in. Isn't it crazy? I'm telling y'all. That's why I had to take you all the way back to Hyattsville, Maryland, because it wasn't like I just came to Atlanta and was like, what up, y'all? I'm your wife coach. It was truly a journey. And so that's pretty much the essence of how I got here and got started. But it started with me just really understanding that there was a plan, and that plan was placed in a book, and that book literally started me with indirectly coaching women to help me start the coaching business. So that's pretty much how I got started.
That is amazing.
Thank
you. The series of circumstances that unfolded just from the thought of even wanting to be an author and then publishing, taking that risk and putting out your relationship in that way, especially in Black communities where we don't always normally talk about.
Exactly.
And that then propelled you to landing a connection that then landed you into the wife coach business that now has landed you in happily married, over the course of the on and off relationship you had.
I'm telling you, it's real out here.
Yeah. And I think that's a testament to, and I hope someone, got something from that. Just that one part right there, because I know I did, that no matter what your story is, there's opportunity behind it.
Yes.
Like, don't be fearful. And if you have an idea, if you have a plan, go after it. You never know where it could lead you. Take that risk. Surrender to God, like you mentioned.
Yes.
And you never know where that could lead you. Oh, wow. Amazing story.
Thank you.
Could you just give us a little background on the mission that you have? Because I feel like it's twofold. There's a mission for women for preparing to be a wife, and there's a mission for women who are already wives.
Absolutely. So it all started with me looking at myself. Why was I hesitant about getting married? And then when I really wanted to get married, what was my real purpose? Because I was the girlfriend who was watching all of my other friends get married. So even though Derek and I had been dating off and on, we talked about marriage maybe like a little bit, like not even a lot. But when I started seeing everybody else get married, I was like, I want to get married too. You know what I mean? Like, it was like everybody else doing it, I want to do it. And so my purpose for getting married wasn't right. I was more caught up in the whole, I get to have a date, it's all about me, and I'm going to get married, and all this stuff is going to be beautiful and happily ever after, and living this fairy tale. So when I really understood, it actually took me and Derek getting closer and closer to the altar, not by choice. I'll say I pretty much gave him an ultimatum. And that ultimatum led me figuratively at the altar by myself. So I don't want y'all to think we planned a wedding and I was standing at the altar like in front of my guests. No, I can see that would have happened because we were actually jumping the gun. He was afraid because of his perception of marriage. I was afraid because I'm like, look, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And it wasn't until we got to that breaking point. That was one of those makeups or breakups. That was one of those breaking points where I'm thank God for intervening because it took us almost getting married for us to realize that, okay, we're about to make the biggest mistake because we're getting married just to get married. We're not getting married on purpose.
Yeah.
We're not getting married and understanding that this is an assignment. Like I always say, do your work. Being a wife is an assignment. I didn't know that at the time. So what happened was I was actually introduced to a chaplain who actually became Derek and I. This was our premarital education or educator, I could say that, or our premarital education counselor, if you want to say that. But he literally took us through the journey of what marriage is. Like he was someone who was an advocate for marriage. He was divorced. He understood the power of divorce. He understood the power of marriage. And so he helped us to create our own version of marriage. And so when I got really serious about, wow, this thing called marriage is not just a walk in the park, or this thing called marriage is not just something you should just do and without knowing what you're getting yourself into, that's when I realized, like, oh my goodness, I have to share this with others. Like I have to help them to understand as a single woman, preparation is key, because jumping into marriage unprepared is as wise as jumping into a pool and not knowing how to swim. And that's exactly what I was about to do. Like I was literally about to do that. I'm going to be, struggling in the water, treading water for as long as I could. And eventually I would have drowned. So knowing that mindset, I had to have a mindset shift. And that's where that took place. So that's when I started realizing that single women had to understand the power in preparation. And understanding what they were getting themselves into. So that's the first part, because you're absolutely right. It is twofold. And then the second part was understanding that once you get married, you have to function as a wife, not a married woman. Because all married women aren't wives.
Wow.
And so if you are married and you are frustrated, you're realizing that you guys aren't communicating effectively, the intimacy is not there, he's leaving the toilet seat up and that's driving you crazy, all of these different things, you're controlling, you're nagging, your Mrs. Always Right, all of these things that a married woman is, that's when you start seeing marriages become really not necessarily toxic right away, but they start building to that position of being toxic. That's when you start seeing relationships being hard. And I'm not saying that they're easy, but that's when it's like unnecessarily hard, because you don't understand how to tap into that good thing called being a wife. God said a man that finds a wife finds a good thing. So if you understand, he obtains favor. So if you understand what your good thing is, realizing how to let go, how to allow him to be the man, that's when I realized again that I didn't know what I was signing myself up for. So I had to educate. See, just like I was educated. I had to prepare, just like I was prepared. I had to empower, just like I was empowered, to help women to understand that they can truly create their relationship to be what they desire for it to be. And it can be based on a whole lot of imperfections, because we're imperfect people.
Right.
Two imperfect people who are perfect for each other. So that's the mission of the wife coach. I'm all about teaching you how to live your own lifestyle. We talk about a certain lifestyle, how to live your lifestyle, and really understand the power that you have. But this is not taking away his power. You guys are complementing each other as husband and wife. So that's the twofold part.
I love that. And I love lifestyle. That makes complete sense. And
Thank you.
Everything you just mentioned kind of jumps to where I was talking about an IG story versus a true love story, where everybody wants to get married because they see everybody else is doing it. But that true work that you have to get that true love story, it takes work. It takes patience. It takes prayer and everything that you just mentioned, and more so communication, which is something that sounds like you and Derek activated, as soon as you possibly could, which is awesome. Yes. And even for Greg and I, my husband, we are constantly finding ways to be the best version of ourselves. And you just coined to this, best versions of ourselves individually and then together.
Yes.
And that takes work. If you enjoy who you're with, it does not feel like work. You just have to put in that work.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's an amazing point, and I'm pretty sure that hit home with a lot of people when it comes to the ebbs and flows of relationships and the notion of wanting to be married or wanting to be a wife.
And can I say something else, Nicole?
Yeah.
When it comes to, like you said, understanding that a lot of times this fairy tale syndrome, we really live in a fairy tale world when it comes to relationships. Like, we feel like, okay, I have to go to work, like my job, and I'm supposed to do that. That's just non-negotiable. But when it comes to a relationship, that's love. So it's not supposed to be work. And, people don't understand that love is a decision. Love is something that you choose to do. Like, God chose to love us, like to give his only begotten. Like, do I have to go into that? Like, come on, y'all. Let's really think about what love is. You know what I'm saying? Pass that collection plate. Because that's what it is. It's a decision. People fall in love all the time, but they fall right back out of love because they're basing it on emotion. Like, I am truly, should you feel love? Absolutely. Love, you can feel love, but you got to also choose it. Sometimes my husband is not, he's not far from being the most lovable person, but you know how you can have your moments and you'll be like, okay, that's conditional. Okay, this is unconditional love. This is what unconditional love means. When those conditions come, you still got to love them. Yeah. You still got to love the stinking draws. You still got to love everything about them.
It's like a light bulb clicks. He's like, oh, this is unconditional love.
Yes, absolutely. So just know that anything worth having is worth working for, and your relationship is no exception.
No, great point. Great. I'm glad you added that. If you could share the top 3 reasons women end up securing your services and successfully becoming wives or being better wives.
Yes,
because we talked about a lot just now, but I'm just curious, like, what are the top 3 reasons?
No, that's good.
Yeah.
So literally over the last, this is, the first of the year, over the last 3 weeks, I have been on discovery calls. I am one of those coaches, I guess if you want to say that goes live on Instagram. I love going live and just sharing wisdom, giving advice. And I was able to book a lot of discovery calls. And these women are pretty much saying the same thing. They know that they're married to the right person. That's not a question. But it's somehow, some way, they're looking at them a little differently. Like, wait a minute, I used to really, we used to have these butterflies in our stomach when we saw each other. But right now, he keeps leaving clothes on the floor, and it's driving me crazy. Or he's leaving the toilet seat up, or he's not, as affectionate as he used to be. So a lot of women come to me because I feel that they have moved into the position of being a married woman. That's the first thing I noticed, from being Mrs. Right, being Mrs. Nagging, being Mrs. Controlling, being Mrs., whatever it is that's the opposite of being a wife. That's what they have stepped into because they stopped doing the work. They stopped doing the work. So that's one thing. Another thing is I have women who are in relationships that are either dating someone and they are ready to move into that courting stage. Like, they know that, okay, I've been dating this guy for 2-3 years or something like that, and I know that it's time for us to start talking about marriage. So they come and see me for wife in training to prepare. We talked about that preparation so that they'll understand what they're getting themselves into. And I actually had a success story last year where a couple came to me seeking premarital coaching. And I like to say coaching because I'm not a counselor. I definitely want to make sure I give props to therapists and counselors, who have those licensures. Like, I'm not taking away from them.
Okay, yes, no, that's a great distinction, yes.
I have to. So I am a coach. Sometimes I do need to refer couples or even some of my female clients to counselors because it's just deeper than my pedigree. Okay, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not going there. I'm not going to try to counsel you and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to teach you what I know.
Right, right. Know your strength.
Yeah, exactly. Know your strength and operate in it. So she came to me, and they were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, and we had our sessions, and they were literally on the brink of breaking up. And so I was just basically every week giving them different assignments to see, hey, is this for you? Is this what y'all want to do? Like, I can't tell you to stay or go. You know, literally, I'm going to pretty much lay this out. And so after doing the work, see, notice I said that. After doing the work, not just her, but he was doing the work. These two are now engaged. They are expecting their first child this year. So I'm that's, you know, just to see that. So knowing that they came to me in preparation for marriage, and she also started seeing me for wife in training. So that's another reason why I am, I guess, sought after to help with that. And I think pretty much it's the preparation stage, or it's the women who feel like, you know, their marriage is growing stale because they've been in it for like 5 years, 10 years, and they're like, okay, you know, this is, we're becoming Mr. and Mrs. Married. So for the most part, it's communication issues, intimacy issues, and of course, just to prepare for their new relationship as husband and wife.
Very interesting. I was curious about that because, I mean, we hear and see so many things just from our own circles, right? You know, of people in relationships and where they are, whether they're married or not. So that's interesting to hear that that pool that you've gotten in so recently. Yeah. I guess to extend on that, I want to just talk about like maybe 3 profiles, because I feel like we could talk about many different marital or soon to be married profiles. Okay. But maybe just like 3 profiles and just some quick tips or advice that you could offer from a coaching standpoint to these profiles. So So I have 3. The first one I have is, I would consider the Miss Independent profile, the one who's, okay, you know who she is. She seemingly has it all together, but needs help in the love department. Like, what are some of the things that you have found yourself telling this person?
That is good. And most of the time, Miss Independent also is Miss Controlling, because they have been doing for themselves for however long, or they have their own house, they have their own job, they are educated, they have all of these different amazing things going for them. So when it comes to the relationship side of their life, I guess they're expecting things to unfold the same way. Like, they, you know, everything worked out pretty well. I worked my behind off and I climbed the corporate ladder, or I started my business. And so they're taking that same mentality in the love department. But sometimes I think the clash happens where they're trying to continue to be the head. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're like fall in line.
Yeah, see, it's kind of hard to, and I'm gonna curse. Just know about the curse, okay? It's not a bad word, but it's called submission. So most of the time, women, I know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse. Please block that word out.
I'll put a bleep on that one.
Just put a bleep on that one, the submission word, because in submission, I think that's another thing, the mindset, not understanding what that is and what it should look like. It does not lessen your power. It doesn't. But if I am trying to meet a man who I want to be the head of my household, or to, be my covering, to be all those things, then you have to submit and yield into that. But sometimes we don't, because of that whole I'm independent, you can't tell me what to do profile. I think that's one of the pieces of advice that I would offer her, is to look at, is she willing to be, and it's that you don't submit to anybody. Let me just also put that out there.
Correct. There are boundaries.
Yes, you don't submit to anybody. I'm talking about if they're independent and having a trouble finding someone or being approached by someone. I would also look at, what are you giving off? Because if you have a certain face on, a resting face, or I think men love strong women. I don't think they not like or dislike strong women, but if you're unapproachable because you're so strong and you want everybody to know you're strong and I can do my own, then that's probably where you need to start looking at how you are showing up in these different places. All right, so that would be my advice for her.
No, that's great. Thank you. I guess the second would be the single parent profile. This is someone who is trying at love again. Maybe they had a bad breakup. Maybe it was a mutual breakup, but they just need advice on how to navigate again.
Okay, so I think honestly, this is a beautiful opportunity for you to start really loving on yourself. And I know a lot of single women like, what are you sure about loving on yourself, LB? I want to do somebody. I do think you should, but if you're still hurting from your previous relationship, then you're going to take that same hurt into your new relationship if you haven't dealt with it. Mm-hmm. So being a single parent, I think, especially you got to also get into protective mode as, okay, I can't just bring any old body around my child. I don't need them to see me with multiple, men or partners or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't need to see that. So I think this is the opportunity for you to get yourself together, to heal from whatever hurts happened. Go back to your previous relationship and ask yourself, okay, what worked? Well, because everything went bad. Y'all were together. Everything went bad. So what worked? What didn't work? And now what do I need to do to make sure those things don't repeat themselves? So most of that means pouring back into yourself because you've given up yourself. You've given up yourself. You know what I'm saying? So much. So I think that would be my advice to that single parent, to make sure they're in the headspace to even get back out there again.
Correct. I think that's really important, because I was even going to say growth, because you've probably grown since that relationship.
I hope so.
Mentally, physically, and in just different ways. And you are in a different space of just a different headspace when it comes to self-development. So I would hope there's a lot more self-love already inside of you, enough to give to other people, not just your kids, but to another future spouse. The final one that I want to touch on is the married couple. Someone or a woman who didn't necessarily grow up in a 2-parent household, and her husband are just winging it and, trying to do the best they can.
Right. Okay. So the advice I would give is to get some coaching. Every player, needs a coach. Every coach needs a coach. So I think it's important for you to recognize, like, look, let's stop winging it. Let's stop just trying to figure this thing out, and let's get some counsel or some coaching on how we can better serve each other. And notice I said the word serve, because I really feel like this is a position of ministry and service when it comes to each other. Not just me as a wife. Like, I'm like, I just serve my man. Yes, I serve him, but he better serve me too. This is we going back and forth with this thing. So, but understanding that, how do we do it to where we both willingly are putting in the work? How do we do it to where we have set goals? Okay, y'all, we're married. So what do we want to see our relationship like in 3 years? Where do we want to go? What do we want our bank account to look like? What do we want our love to feel like? All of those things are real. And so sometimes you get so stuck into the mundane, day-to-day Mr. and Mrs. married life that you need somebody to come in to kind of look and just get an overview of what you guys are doing, how you're functioning, and then come in with some strategies and tips, practical strategies and tips, nothing off the wall. Like, literally, I'm doing a 5-week challenge right now. And one of those challenges were to write a Post-it note in a place and put it where he can see it. Something as small as that. And I got so much feedback, so many amazing DMs from wives like, oh my God, like, I did it. And he responded like, I appreciate that, baby. Thank you so much. So little stuff like that. You wouldn't even think writing, have a good day, or I love you on a Post-it note, something that you already got at your office, that would change the atmosphere, that would create just some mushiness, stuff like, wait a minute, okay, I haven't felt that in a while. So having somebody come in from the outside to look in can help you to kind of reboot those areas where you're just winging it and actually get you some structure into how you want it to work.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah. Personally, my husband and I have not done any coaching, any professional counseling or anything. But one of the things that we have, not to say that we never would, just to improve our marriage, but one of the things that we've done since we were dating, actually, is each month we would talk about our relationship. How do you feel? What's going on? What are your thoughts? And originally when we were dating, we would only mention it maybe during that time of the month. Like, we would do it every end of the month and have that conversation. And over time, it just became more so as a conversation. So we no longer had to wait until the beginning or the end of the next month. We would just talk and just say what we feel at that very moment without having to put a time stamp on it, if you will. And that has been very helpful. So I'm pretty sure you have coached your clients on that as well. But no, I totally agree.
That's perfect. What you just said is perfect. In fact, you do it monthly. My husband and I, we do it weekly.
Oh.
We call it pillow talk. And this is another tip that I shared on my live. Like, we call it pillow talk. It's like our weekly business meeting. Because, Nicole, I'm going to let you know, my marriage, I have my own publishing company. I have my own wife coaching company, but my marriage is my business. That's my number one business. And so I treat it as such, as much energy and intention that I put into this business that I'm growing. I need to put that same energy and intention into my marriage. And so we meet every Sunday for Pillow Talk. And we're talking about finances. We're talking about emotion. We're checking in with each other emotionally. How was your week? Because, throughout the week, you might be like, hey, how was your day? Everything good? But you're not really connecting like on an intimate level. But on Pillow Talk Day, that Sunday morning, we are able to lie in bed and talk. And then I even take notes. So when we revisit the next week, I'm like, okay, baby, this is what you said you were going to do. Were you able to do this? This is what I said I was going to do. So that keeps the connection, the communication, the intimacy strong.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I mean, we could talk about so many other profiles and go on and on with this information, but those are those 3 profiles I wanted to cover. And I think your personal accounts and then my personal accounts that we just shared, I hope that I was able to give someone a little bit more advice, a little bit more clarity and confidence when it comes to relationship building, because it is so important. Like what you hear? Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter at mediocre-to-masterful.com for more tips and resources to help you reach your goals. And you can also follow us on Instagram at mediocre-to-masterful. My next topic of discussion, and I mentioned this earlier, is the preparing for your proposal, or if you are already in a relationship, this will maintain the relationship. But this section is prepare for your proposal. How profound, and I feel like we've kind of sprinkled this throughout our conversation, Lakia, but how profound is faith in delivering the joy of unconditional love?
Wow. How profound is faith? Okay, so profound, y'all, I used to be a language arts teacher too, and I'm an English major. Profound means like deep. So how deep is faith? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. Okay,
yes.
So I just want to make sure I understand
Lakia, I hear you.
So I got to make sure, I understand. So let me tell you something. When it comes to unconditional love, like we just talked about, like you said, Nicole, unconditional love is... See, most people don't understand what unconditional love is until conditions happen.
I love that.
Most people, because they can say it, it sounds good though. See, that sounds good. Like, I love him unconditionally. And then when the conditions come, you're like, well, wait a minute, hold up. Let me question if I really do love this person, because you're seeing them in maybe a different light, or their imperfections are starting to show, or, whatever it is. So I think faith playing a part in any aspect, I don't care if it's your love, your communication, your sex, whatever it is, faith has to play a part whenever you are delivering that, because you don't know what the outcome is. Like, you're really betting on it. You're like saying, okay, God, I trust you. Like, that's what you're saying. Like, I trust you. If my husband, for example, unconditional love, he has made some decisions financially that I didn't agree with. Okay? Now, it took me, even though I wanted to kind of control the situation, and I'm not saying that in all situations you're not supposed to be, controlling it, but I wanted to really step back and say, wait a minute, hold up. I know my husband does things that are in a different way than the way I do them. One, I know that he loves me, he loves our family, and he would never make any decision that he feels is going to hurt us. He would never do it intentionally. Everything is doing it out the best, he's doing it out the, he's doing it knowing that he wants the best for his family. Correct. So best whatever interest. Those decisions are, I may not agree with them. So I'm going to also allow God to step in and do whatever he's going to do, which is faith. Because I don't see what's going to happen. I don't see the outcome. I don't see any of those things. But I'm going to let God step in, because maybe God is doing something in my husband that I don't know about. Wow. Now, I could have been praying to God for him to make my husband more business-minded, okay? Because I do pray those things. Make him more business-minded. Not that he's not. He's a very great businessman. But there's always room for improvement. Right. Help him to be a little more savvy. So how do I know that by him making this not-so-great business deal is God teaching him how to be a better businessman? Wow. Do you see that?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's how I look at it when it comes to, faith and delivering it in any aspect of your relationship. You may not see the outcome, but you got to trust that, okay, God, you're going to help us get through this. Whatever it is, let me trust you. Let me trust the man I said I do to, even though I don't understand what he doing. I don't know how he leading. And I'm over here going crazy like, no, don't do it. But I could be missing out on a blessing.
That is an amazing. I really feel like we could have led and ended with this particular question. Like this could have been it. This could have been the whole discussion today. But no, like as you were saying that, and I love how you turn that around, and that is just, I think that was the true definition of that question. As you were saying that, it brought me to Proverbs 3:5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." That was also the definition of what you just shared, because it's not what you know to be the truth. It's what God is working through your husband and through you and around you guys. And, he will make your path straight. So you just have to trust in that and be faithful in that. And if you have found yourself completely, clueless or confused or fed up with relationships goals, stop doing it your way and follow his way, because your understanding of a relationship could be rudimentary. It could be you're leaning onto your own understanding. Surrender, and you mentioned this, surrender your love life and your whole life to God's plan, and for you to watch how he just miraculously works in your life in ways you just had no idea. Because like you said, I pray for my husband to be more of a businessman, and that might not come out the way that you and your mind envision for your husband, but it's a way that God is setting up for him and for y'all to figure out later, because God gonna be like, okay, here's what I was working on while you were praying for that for your husband.
Right. Exactly.
That is so amazing. So amazing. I love that. We talked about this in the profile section, and I think it was specifically with the single parent, and this can be single parent or just anyone. How important is self-love and the desire to be a good wife?
Oh, wow. Well, everything starts with self. I even teach my wives to be selfish. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I want to give you an illustration of something that I use. This is something that I share when I'm teaching women how to take care of themselves and why self-love is so important. So if you had a glass of water that was half empty or half full, that was filled right in the middle, most people say it's half empty, half full. And the thing about it is that a lot of women serve, there's that word again, they serve their family, they serve their country, they serve their, like if they're in the army, they serve their community, they serve their job, they serve so many different things from a glass that's half empty or half full. And so if you continue to do that, what's going to happen? What happens? That glass becomes empty, right? Yeah. So you're constantly giving to others, there's nothing giving to you. So what happens if you fill that glass up to the rim, like all the way to the actual rim of the glass, and you try to serve from that? Should you serve from a glass that's half full, that's a glass that's full? Most people would. But guess what? You start serving, you're going to get right back down to that half empty, half full. So what I teach my wives to do when it comes to self-love is just really understanding your worth and your value. Really understanding that, you have to come first. I mean, literally that whole analogy on the plane, I know we've heard it time and time again, but that has to be the poster child of self-love. You have to put the mask on yourself first before you can put it on your child or anybody else. So what I feel is when you do things that you love to do, this is how I feel, outside of your family. I love to run on the pavement in the morning, early in the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning is me, it's the pavement, it's trap music, and it's God. Okay? All on the pavement. That's self-love for me. All of them. That's self-love for me, because that's filling my cup. That's filling my cup to a point where it overflows. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, so when I'm doing things like that, when I'm able to spend some quiet time with me and just read and refuel my mind. This right here, even though this is considered work, even this interview, but this is still me doing something that I love, right? So I'm filling my cup up to where it overflows. So now I can serve my family. I can serve my girls from the overflow, where that means I remain full. So if you keep that mindset when it comes to self-love and your desire to be a wife, you got to remember that. Because a lot of times we get into this whole, I want to be a superwoman. Like, I don't know where that analogy came from. I don't know why people put that on themselves. But superwoman need to go somewhere with herself. Because that S it doesn't stand for super on me. It stands for I need support. Like, I need support, woman. Like, hey, I'm the I need support woman. So I need help. And so I think when we get to that point of understanding self-love in that manner, that will help you to not feel overwhelmed. Not that you won't ever feel overwhelmed, you will. But then you're able to step back and say, okay, well, why am I feeling overwhelmed? What am I doing too much of? What am I not doing enough of? Okay, you know what? I haven't put myself on my schedule this week. That's probably why I'm overwhelmed. Let me go ahead and take care of that. Nope, I can't make it to this event this weekend. Or nope, I can't hang out with the girls tonight. Because that's me taking care of me. So hopefully that helps when it comes to the whole analogy or understanding of self-love. But your whole desire to be a wife, you need to understand that your cup needs to be overflowing at all times, and you serve everyone from the overflow.
I love that. Absolutely. And unapologetically is what I kept, as you were talking, I kept saying they were over and over in my head. Like, that's exactly what it is. Work from the overflow, unapologetically. Take that time for you. And, you know, it sounds so simple because it is. In my mind, it actually is. You just have to make that time for yourself in order to do that.
Well, people feel, well, there you go. It goes back to feeling selfish. You know, like, no, I can't love myself because that's selfish. No, it's okay to be selfish in a way that not that you are only focused on you, but that you are taking care of you. That's it. You just have to understand that. If I don't take care of me, Demi is not going to be okay regardless. My Lexi is not going to be okay. Derek is not going to be okay if I'm not okay.
No, that's a great point. And you know what that just made me think of?
What's
the reoccurring issues or repercussions that we've seen in households, single family households or married households, where the woman has, or the mom has always been the one to provide, to the point where now we are seeing mental repercussions from a lot of those things. Like, they've been giving of themselves for so long, they no longer know what makes them happy. They now are finding themselves in maybe some deep depression or just different things.
Very true. Because for some reason it's a badge of honor to serve to the point where you are depleted. And I don't understand that. Like, yes, I am taking care of my family, and you're supposed to get a trophy for that, but you're burnt out. Like, what are we doing here? Like, you only get one life too, though. You know that, right? Like, you only get one life to live too. So let's not devote so much of our life and it. I mean, I'm not saying our children shouldn't matter, our husbands shouldn't matter. They do, but guess what? I matter too. Sorry, that's me being selfish, but hey, I gotta make sure I put that out there.
Right. I'm curious. Do you think that feeling of, well, that's just me being selfish, is the reason why people hesitate in securing a marriage coach, a wife coach, or
as far as them being selfish, not wanting to,
not wanting to, yes.
You know what? I never looked at it like that. I think most of the time people don't want to ask for help. So maybe that does fall in line. People want to seem like they got it all together. Okay. I've been her. Like, I'm raising my hand right now. I've been her. Because you don't want people to think that you don't know what you're doing. You don't want people to feel like you just need help. Like, I don't know why help and assistance, we're helpmates. Like, come on. I don't know why help and assistance seems so negative. But I promise you, there's so much strength in having the support. Change the word to support. And if you don't like help, just say it's support. I just need support. That sounds better, right? Yeah. Sometimes you got to change your words. So I don't know. I think that's what it is. Them not realizing that they need the support and don't want to ask for the support until it's way too late. Now you want to come to me and you talk about y'all getting a divorce. What are you doing? Like, no, why? How did you get there? How did you get to this point? So yeah, that could be.
Great point. Great point. So we've talked about some amazing things when it comes to relationships, whether you're single, whether you're married, or you're courting, whatever the case may be. What are tips that our listeners should activate from this discussion?
From everything we've been talking about?
Everything. If they were like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
they're like, I've heard all this information, I've been jotting my
Mm-hmm.
notes, but now how can I get started? How can I activate? Or do you have anything coming up? Some
Absolutely. Well, let's just
tips?
say this. I think the first thing, depending on, I'm not sure of the audience, so wherever you are on your journey, whether it is wanting a better relationship with love, with yourself, with your spouse, maybe you're looking for love or want to be available for love. I like to say that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really be intentional about everything that you want to do. So if you know that you want to have a successful relationship, regardless if you're in one or if you desire to be in one, you know that preparation is key. Notice I said that. If you're in one or if you want to be in one, preparation is key. So understanding, okay, if I know that I want to be a wife, maybe you're married and you're realizing like, wait a minute, this whole time I haven't been functioning as a wife. I've been married. So if you know that you want to be a wife, then you got to figure out, okay, wait a minute, do I need a coach that's going to help me? Because most of the women I coach say, I never had an example of what a wife was. I never had a positive example of a healthy marriage. So really being intentional about creating what you want by having somebody who's already done it or who is doing it to help you along the way. You may need to go ahead and seek out a coach. You may need to come see your girl LB. That's me, Lakia Brandenburg, the wife coach, because I help women. It's called Wife in Training. That is my coaching session. It's a 3-month coaching period where I'm actually helping women to become the wife that they desire to be in their particular relationships. I also have a master class called Teach Me How to Be a Wife, because at the end of the day, that's what most women say. I don't know how to be a wife. So that means, okay, well, let me teach you how to be a wife. And not just a universal wife, like, okay, every wife is the same. No. But there are some universal principles that you should be aware of. So that's one thing. Be intentional. Another tip would be to trust the process. Let me go ahead and say that. Trust the process.
Yes.
I started off letting you know that I was in Hyattsville, Maryland, born and raised, went to college at South Carolina State University, somehow made my way to Atlanta for one purpose, but God had another. So I need you to trust what that process is going to look like. When it comes to your relationship, my husband and I don't necessarily suggest or agree that you should be dating somebody off and on for 10 years. That's gambling, okay? Because we could have crapped out. We could have. I just want you to understand that. But you have to know that when it comes to getting into a relationship, if you know what it is that you want, you have to trust that God is going to bring you that guy, or even if you're in a relationship, that God is going to work it out to where you all can have the type of marriage that you desire. So trusting the process will be my second. And then the third, let's see. The third, from everything that we talked about. Oh, yes. Make sure you're serving from the overflow. I don't care what it is. That applies in your relationships. That applies in your community, in your corporate position, in your business. Serve from the overflow. Self-love is so important. You cannot be a happy wife if you are not taking care of yourself. You will be a married woman, mad, upset, frustrated, fussing, because you're constantly giving of yourself and not replenishing yourself. So make sure that you are staying full regardless. That's why I'm like, I don't care for not. That's something that applies to everybody. Stay full and make sure you're serving from your overflow. So those are the 3 tips that I would give.
I love it. I love it. And that's real. Those are some real tips. And they are practical tips, and they just need to be put into purpose.
Absolutely.
A lot more often. Thank you, Lakia. I am
welcome.
So appreciative of your wealth of knowledge and grateful of your time today. This has been amazing.
Yay, I've enjoyed it.
This has been so great. How can people reach out to you, get connected with your masterclass? How can they follow you? What are some of your outlets?
Absolutely. So on social media, on Instagram, you can follow me at The Wife Coach. The Wife Coach. My website is lakiabrandenburg.com. That's also in the link If you go on my page on Instagram, click the link in my bio, you're able to see everything that I have going on, my masterclass, my discovery calls. If you want to book a call with me, it is a free call, so we can see if we're the perfect fit. I always say that there are a wide variety of resources. There's a wealth of resources and tools out there, but we may not be the best fit for each other. So let's make sure that you do that before we actually book an actual session. So I think that's important, just to make sure that the person that is teaching you, that's coaching you, is somebody that you can truly learn from, and it's worth the investment. So definitely reach out to me on social media. You can hit me up in the DMs. I do respond. Yes, I do respond. So I have truly enjoyed this. Thank you so much, Nicole, for just having me on here, just talking about all things love, marriage, and relationships. So much fun.
Yes, I am so grateful. Thank you, and you're welcome. I appreciate this episode, and I'm excited about how this will impact the many people to operate in love, to operate in the beauty of love. And to our listeners, if this spoke to you, I encourage you to get connected with Lakia through her outlets that she just shared. I'll make sure that's in the show notes as well, so everybody can have access there. But I think, like you said, that discovery call is going to be really critical and important for you guys to know if you sync, if you're simpatico, like if you guys want to work together. So make sure you take advantage of that. If you want to be married and need to activate a mindset shift to operate as a wife, reach out. If you are already married and want to improve yourself, still reach out. But this is an investment towards your self-development and your language of love. So Lakia, thank you again.
You're welcome, Nicole. Thank you.